John Chen gets another 5 years to work on his overhaul of BlackBerry. Now, the company just signed him up to a contract extension that could be worth more than $300 million US over 5 years. Now, of course, this used to be a smartphone titan. It rebuilt itself as a software and services leader. We're joined by the CEO of BlackBerry, John Chen. He's going to tell us what's ahead for the next 5 years. John, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Nice to be on.
John, the stock, we'll have a look at the stock. It has been hot this year, nearly doubling since December. What do you call it? Do you call this a transformation of BlackBerry, a reinvention?
Yeah, I think it's best to describe it as a kind of chapter 2. I'll call it chapter 2.0, and it's important to know that it is really based on a lot of the stuff that the company already know or is known for. So what I really have helped the company realize is that we're really looking at the assets of security, of encryption, cryptology, and apply that not only to the phone that we made in the past generation, but applying to auto, the autonomous driving platform, applying to handset and endpoint management, and applying to to the software and security world. So it's really not just a departure or transformation or whatnot. It's a taking what we know and take it to the next level.
John, obviously this is your second workover of a company. You've been successful twice now. Could I just ask you about, we don't have the full details of this contract extension. That'll come with the proxy later this year. It could be worth more than $300 million US if the stock performs. I just wanted to ask you about one thing, though. Apparently half of the award doesn't really need the stock to go up very much. These are so-called time-based restricted stock. So you get a lot of money even if the shares don't go up. And the Globe says cynics call this pay for breathing. How do you answer that kind of criticism?
Well, I think you'll find it quite common that the components of compensations of the senior executives, some portion of it are based on time-based for making sure that it's a retention or an attraction. Attracting talents, a component, and then of course we have to earn it for it to go up. Even the so-called the fixed one or time-based one, if the stock goes down, you get a lot less, obviously. So it's not entirely just you get the money in regardless. You get the shares, and the shares go down to a low number. You get low numbers, and it's the right thing. So I think on balance, it is the right set of parameters.
And we know Prem Watts, a big investor in your company, a value enthusiast, has signed off on this thing, and he's singing your praises.
Yes, what's the question?
Yeah, no real question there.
I'm glad you pointed that out. But Prem and the board, and Prem on behalf of the board, and this is something the whole board is supporting and enthusiastically, and I'm very honored for them to give me that vote of confidence. And we work extremely well together, and every member of the board and myself, and very open, transparent, really have the same common views. And so I'm pleased. I'm pleased to be associated with these set of quality people.
John, I got to ask you, I mean, you're already a pretty wealthy fellow. You could make more than $1/3 billion US with this thing. Of course, shareholders would get rich along the way. But what do you need so much money for? How many mansions do you need?
Don't know. I actually haven't a mansion. I live in the same house that I lived in about 25 years ago. So I'm not this is really not that, and it's not about trying to make a lot more money. And the reward's good. It's kind of a measurement of sorts, but I like to tell you that because I do that I do a lot of philanthropy work also. So one of these days somebody's going to benefit from all that, and it's not going to be me that much.
Do you have a favorite philanthropic cause?
Yeah, everything related to helping needy children. We do quite a bit. My family and I, and we have a trust that focus on that.
Now, have you had any other offers? You must have had some. You must have had some feelers about other turnaround opportunities. Did anyone else want you to come over?
Yes, I do. From time to time, I do get calls.
Okay, you're being reserved on that, as I might imagine. We get your earnings, your actual quarterly earnings, on March 28th, so we won't get into that because I know you can't probably go into very much detail. But just remind us what you're doing in self-driving cars, because of course, do you have? Presumably, your software would be very relevant there.
Exactly. So what we do a lot of things. So we have a unit, a company that we own called QNX. It's a subsidiary or a division of ours in Ottawa, and they are a pioneer in building software to embed into cars. So it used to be that we do a lot of infotainment systems. In fact, about 60 million cars out there have our infotainment system. You know, all the Ford, for example, Ford Motor Company Sync 3 is based on the QNX technology. It's all embedded in there. So and so and since the last couple of 3 years, our strategy has been to extend it to beyond just the infotainment. So we have things like over-the-air, advanced driver assist, cockpit, vehicle-to-vehicle communication. You could see that these are all components, a autonomous vehicle or a connected vehicle. It doesn't have to be just car, by the way. Drones, it's also applicable to drones and applicable to even any embedded devices. You see us being quite active in that space. In fact, I dare to say we are, if not the leader, one of the leaders on embedded auto software in the world. So it's something that is not well known of, but I call it a crown jewel of the Canada.
John, the employee headcount, of course, you've had to let people go as you restructured Research in Motion. Employee headcount down by around 80%, revenue down 95%. Did you have to gut this company to save it?
Yeah, unfortunately, the cell phone market, and this is a much longer conversation, so I know we don't have time, but the cell phone market by itself is starting to be quite saturated, and kind of the winners takes all, and the margin is not high, even if the winner. So, and so when I look at the company, bleeding cash and losing money, I thought, and it's not necessary needs to be that way. There's so much that we know. There's so much is relevant to the world, especially in the whole Internet of Things world. You have to change what we do, and unfortunately, changing from a hardware company to a software company and a services company, requires a lot of these painful actions. And we're going to start hopefully falling from this point and start growing again. As far as the revenue is concerned, that's a very interesting point. You forgot to mention, however, we made the company gross margin from 30%, even when we're having multi-billion dollars revenue, from 30% to the recently announced quarter in the high 70%. That made us, that helped us to make money, and that help us to generate cash, and that help us to hire people all around the world. So you will see us, as we do well, I'm not saying that we're straight up, but as we do well going forward, you'll see the company expanding again, and in fact, you should see it now.
John, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Absolutely, Andrew.
John Chen, one of the great characters of IT and most successful executives, CEO of BlackBerry.